So YAML is supported both in Oxygen XML editor and Oxygen JSON editor. We'll talk a little bit about YAML language, how we support editing on YAML documents, validating them, some tools, and as I told you before, there are also support for OpenAPI and Async API in YAML. So mainly YAML as well as JSON support is available in all these three products: the main Oxygen XML editor, also in developer, and of course in the JSON editor. As a short history, it was first proposed by Clark Evans in 2001 and is a human-friendly serialization of data. Is a little bit more easy to read and understand than XML and JSON. So actually JSON files can be considered as valid YAML 1.2 files. Files that we edit in Oxygen have extension YAML or IML. They have whitespace indentation for block collections. Mappings use a colon and space, and sequence start with a dash and space. Sequence are part, for example, here, person is an array of persons, and the dash start every item in that array. It also has comments which begin with a hash. As data types in YAML, you have scalars like strings, numbers, booleans, sequences, list of values like an array. You have maps and also key value pairs, and null represents the absence of the value. You can see here that YAML is a little bit more compact than JSON and of course than XML, especially because it misses the closure part of the block, of the map or the array. You have for YAML editing the YAML editor, which for the moment is only text-based. You have the outline view, which present all the properties inside and with their values. You have validation and well-formedness check, and content completion assistant that is based on a JSON schema. As you can see here, you can associate a JSON schema with this keyword in a YAML, and validation and content completion will be done by that. Also, if you don't want to associate the schema directly in the file, using a validation scenario, you provide the JSON schema for the document, and content completion and validation will work with the schema provided there. In the same way as for XML and YAML, we have structure folding. So if you have big blocks and you want to unsee some of them, you just fold them and work on the part that you're interested. We also offer format and indent for the content, and new document templates can be added by you in order to create new documents. New YAML documents can be created using JSON schema. So, as I told you, you have the possibility to generate properties and values. You can associate or not the schema in the document. You can generate optional properties or additional content. And after that, the document templates can be saved by you and used further. For structure unfolding, the actions are the same as in the XML case. You can collapse other folds or child folds, or expand child folds, or expand all, or whatever. In the outline view, you will have the document overview is also synchronized with the editor, provide the same filtering, and also if you have associated the schema, it presents you the error markers if there are any errors. Associating a JSON schema to YAML documents can be done in two ways. Directly in the YAML document using the $schema property. You can use absolute or relative URLs or URIs depending on when your schemas are placed. And also using a validation scenario. The content completion is also context sensitive, offers you valid proposals. You can have documentation taken from the JSON schema, and you also have code templates. The main feature is that validating YAML document can be done using a JSON schema, and if you have more documents, you can have a batch validate from the project using the same schema for all the files. Of course, depending on how you set the scenario, the validation scenario, validation can be done on request. So that's a manual validation can be performed automatically after every change. And errors are presented in the document in the place where they occur. I mentioned already that you can also have batch validation if there is no schema involved. It performs a well-formed check. Otherwise, if you have a schema, it's a regular validation. And you can also involve Oxygen scripting tool for validation. For example, if you have a continuous integration server. So, as additional tools, you can have conversion between YAML and JSON, YAML and XML. Also, you can perform batch conversion from YAML to JSON, JSON to YAML, and to XML. And also, the OpenAPI and ASIC API editor is based on the OpenAPI and ASIC API JSON schemas. So The content completion proposals are the same for YAML and JSON, and you can edit and build such a document in an error-free way if you follow the schema. You can also extend our frameworks. For YAML documents, you can use your schemas for validation and content completion, define custom templates, add special CSS for rendering, and so on. So in conclusion, the main important part to be remembered is that you can build and validate a YAML document using JSON schema. And this is very important in order to have a valid output. As a future plans for YAML, we'll have the author page, which we hope it will be, I don't know, in the next 6 months or something. We want to add support for querying YAML documents using XPath, and maybe transform YAML documents with XSLT or even XQuery. You can have a lot of information if you enter our pages. You have also tutorials on the JSON editor page, both on regarding JSON and YAML, video demos for both of the tools, and that's it, folks.